from you guys, from the school board and in the higher echelon administration. So I just want to speak first and foremost that we hope you guys have our backs, whatever you guys can do. Moving on, I don't necessarily know what you're going to talk about, but there is a section under 5B3 students. So under the section, just after that is the UIL. That's cool. I like UIL. If you're going to let students participate, you should do that. More students in UIL, the better. And then the third section about personal communication device ban. Again, I just want to say, I know you guys don't have any power to supersede the state law, but for what it's worth, I think that's a cool law. Students are communicating more with each other, talking to us more, and so I hope you do everything in your power to support that specific law. Sorry, kids, I don't like cell phones, but regardless, that one's cool. Keep that one going. And then lastly, this one is something that I think you guys do have a lot of power on, and I hope whatever I say can be, again, a little more influential. Under the executive session, section A, where you guys are going to discuss in executive session things regarding the real property, deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. I've been working here for 9 years. I used to start working at the Kramer campus as an ACE counselor. I used to work after school. Some of the seniors I've known since they were second grade. I've been here when we used to have 2 campuses, and that was fine and dandy back then, but we spent however much money establishing this campus here. If we're going to all of a sudden backtrack on that and decide to purchase land and lease somewhere else and pay somebody else's rent, that's bad. So yeah, don't do that. Anyways.
Thank you, Hector. Okay, next I have Samantha White.
Unlike Mr. Vela, I do have to adjust this microphone down. Sorry for being 5'3", guys. So my name is Samantha White. I teach geometry here. I'll speak into the microphone as awkward as it is because the recording, okay? I know that y'all are discussing the topic of being in UIL as a non-enrolled student. I want to give y'all my perspective. I was actually homeschooled up until the end of high school. The reason I was able to do a lot of the extracurriculars I was able to do is not because I was able to do them through my school. My local school didn't allow me as a homeschooled student to participate. The only reason I had the privilege to do so is because my mother had the education and the ability to start robotics teams and run them out of our house. That is a privilege that almost 0 homeschooled students are afforded. I would love it if we would be able to, allow homeschooled students in our UIL programs as much as we are able to. Let more kids be in UIL, like Vela said, okay? My other thing, don't expand the campus, guys. We already have so many problems in these sets of buildings. To expand our functioning, past the borders of this campus and stretch our resources that are already spread really thin, even thinner, it's not gonna be great, okay? That's something that I know you guys have a lot of power over. Please keep the bandwidth of your students and your staff in mind when you talk about expansion. Again, just like Vela said, okay, I'm not expecting y'all to change state law, okay? SB 12, it sucks, man, okay? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't expect y'all to be able to change the law there. That's insane. But I do expect y'all to do as much as you can to, look at, not necessarily legal loopholes, but things that we as a charter can do and still remain in compliance with that law and still, protect our students and give them a safe and welcoming environment. Like, this is one of the most welcoming and inclusive schools I've ever been in, and I grew up in Michigan, okay? That's crazy, guys. Like, we're in Texas, and I'm seeing a better environment than where I grew up, okay? I want to be able to keep that as much as we can. Really, the other thing, when it comes to SB 12, one of the reasons that students and staff have felt so scared about this legislation is because when we all heard of this legislation coming down the pipe in spring, okay, 6 months ago, even a year ago, we heard whispers of this, okay? There was no talk of it from the school board. We as staff had no idea what was being planned. It doesn't feel great to have this discussion being had after the law has been passed when we've known about it for nearly a year. So if, God forbid, our legislature decides to do more stuff later, if we could have some more communication about it, that would be great. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, next I have Katie Rollison.
Sorry. It's okay. It's okay. Hi guys, my name's Kate. I'm a senior here at NYOS, and I've been going to here since 6th grade, so it's been a while. I'm here today to speak about the student senior parking. Contrary to a statement made that there were no accidents during the first 2 weeks of school, I'm here to say that I've been in 2 fender benders in a span of 3 days in that time. The senior parking lot has become a problem to many, given the fact that there have been 6 accidents so far. That's a lot. And even though they've been minor accidents, it could definitely lead to something potentially bigger. Having the parking between B and C is really hard for a new driver like myself and for many other new student drivers. Having to park by one of the heaviest traffic spots at the beginning and end of the day is really stressful. And often when I'm trying to pull into park or reverse, cars will not stop, so I either have to wait a long time or go in a span of a very short time, which can be very stressful. I do appreciate all the teachers who have been helping the students out of parking, which has been very nice, and I am definitely aware that it can be possible to have solutions to problems here at NYOS. Some ideas include letting the seniors have a 5-minute grace period to leave before you open the gates, or having 1 lane of traffic instead of 2 to kind of help with that. I'm just bringing this up to raise awareness of the problem, and I'm hoping you can consider some stuff as well too. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next, I have Emma Davis.
Hi, I'm Emma Davis, and I'm a 10th grader here at NYOS. I've been here for 4 years. I started in the 6th grade, and I'm here to speak against the relocation of our high school. My first argument is that parents do not want to go to 2 campuses to pick up their kids. The K through 12 school is a big attraction to parents, and adding another campus would not be beneficial to them. Another problem is that a lot of teachers here teach more than just high school, ranging from elementary all the way to high school. A great thing about this NYOS campus is how most of the students here are connected in more ways than one, such as the close-knit community from NYOS being a K through 12 school, and another being how local all the students are. I, for one, just moved houses this summer, and I moved specifically so that my siblings and I would be closer to this NYOS campus. And I know many students and staff would leave the school if it was relocated due to where they lived. I know many students and staff as well who drive 45 minutes to an hour to get here every day and can't take any more traffic. Lots of fundraising events here at NYOS that benefit clubs and diversity thrive off of large age range of students attending. As a student here at NYOS, I'm a part of many clubs and unions, the most prominent being the NYOS Thespians. This summer, the NYOS Thespians built this booth seating and stage in our Performing Arts Center, and moving schools would let that all go to waste. I'm a proud NYOS student, but I'm also proud of this campus, and we should not relocate the high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, last I have Christine Derbyshire.
Hi. I'm not, okay. I'm a 9th grade English teacher here at NYOS. This is, I think, my 7th or 8th year. It really doesn't feel like very long because I love it so much here. All of my other teaching has been done at UT and Reagan High School and Connolly High School. So I'm a veteran teacher, and this is absolutely my favorite place I've ever worked. And I'm really happy to be here, to be at the school board meeting, because I can't come very often because I have 2 little babies at home. I'm so proud of our students for communicating what they want and what they need. I'm really proud of everybody who's involved in these processes of decision making. So, couple things. The cell phone law, it rocks. I feel like even though maybe you don't admit it, the kids are talking more like they're playing games where they have to like look at each other and like have cards and stuff. And they ask me what time it is, and I love that. So I think that's working out really well. The relocation stuff, I really just echo what everybody else is saying. We have so many people here. We take advantage of having everybody here. My students read the children's books that they create to the elementary kids every year. And every time we do that, they want to go more and they want to see the kids more. And so I think that's a really special thing that we can leverage and just do more of, not less of. What else? Oh, the DEI stuff is really freaking us out. We don't know what to do. We hope we have lawyers. We don't want to get in trouble. And I feel like I take on a lot of news, but I honestly did not know we were supposed to dead name our kids until yesterday. Like, I really didn't know that. And somebody also told me, like, hey, that's a law now. And I said, no way. And it is. So I didn't read that in the news, and I didn't know it was happening, and I don't know what to do about it. And I'm really, really conflicted about that because at NYOS, we have so many principles to protect our students, and they know that we love them. And so we need you to help us find a way to keep loving them and keep having them feel safe without going to jail or losing my beloved teaching certificate. And so I know you feel the same way. So thank you. Thank you. Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we will move on to new business. Item 5A is acknowledgement of NYOS production 48-hour film project.
Hello, we are here to be acknowledged. Hi. Hi.
Okay. Well, if I move this way. It just, okay. I want a few moments to brag on you guys. We're so incredibly proud. So please give me a second. I want to read everything that I wrote down ahead of time. Over the summer, high school students led by Lori Ramirez competed in the Austin 48-hour film project. And I'm sharing this with the audience as well as the board. They had 48 hours to write, film, and edit a short film. The students even live recorded original music for the film during that time. The contest is for all local filmmakers, adults and students, and included professional filmmakers, and yet our students made one of the best films in the competition. If our team in the back could pull up my slide deck, it's slide number 2, which gives some visuals for the crowd. The film Card Confidential, which is, we'll put on the website, we put everything on the website so you'll have the link to it, starring Liam Ward and Aldenek Moore, sorry if I mispronounced that, will be screened at the award ceremony on Saturday, September 5th, which already passed. So as time went on, they not only got such great kudos. You can imagine, I have a lot of superintendent groups, and some are informal, some are formal. We have an informal chat, and one day, out of nowhere, another superintendent said, give it up for NYOS film crew. We want the link to see. So, there's a lot of buzz about what's going on. And so we made first runner-up, Best of Austin in the 48-hour film project. The film was nominated in 8 categories and won 3.
4. Well,
4, sorry.
I guess.
We were nominated for Best Use of Genre, Best Use of Props, winner, Best Costumes and Makeup, Best Ensemble Acting, Best Writing, winner, very proud of that one, Best Score, winner, Best Directing, and Best Film, and we were first runner-up. And so all of you who were involved in the creation of this film, please join us down in the front, and we're going to take a quick photo to memorialize this and put it on our website.
Many of our team were seniors, and so they're now in college, so they weren't able to be here, but they were here this weekend to be celebrated, and there was a lot of jealous adults.
Yes, there were. I mean, It's like 7 minutes, so if we could, sure.
Congratulations.
Thank
So
you very
proud of
much.
you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So proud of you guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll stand in front of the mic. How about that?
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, congratulations again. That's great. Okay, next item on our agenda is item 5B, which is to discuss and vote on the Texas 89th legislative session policies. We did receive guidance from our attorneys, and I've asked Dr. Rosas on the process for the board as far as these policies go. So if I can turn it over to you for a second, Dr. Rosas, to explain that.
I feel like a little child who like grabs the mic and pulls it over to herself. So yes, thank you, members of the board and the community. Just a little bit of background. These are unique times when we have quite a large bit of legislation that comes at us at one time. There are a couple of pieces of information that I think will be helpful to the crowd. Typically, what happens when there is legislation that is put forth, we can have conversation about it, but we really do not take action on anything until it's made into law. And so there's only so much time and energy every day in a day, and sometimes getting concerned, as members of the community, we definitely can, right? As voters, as active members of the process, but creating concern where it may not even apply to us, not always good, right? So we wait until a law is voted in. So even then, we don't take action because not every law applies to charter schools. We wait, and by we, I mean every single Texas charter school waits, and every charter system has a legal team that they work with. And all the schools in this area work with usually the same team. And so that team then goes for us and works with the legislatures to determine if it applies to charter systems. Then and only then do we get a brief from the legal team that advises us which policies to address first, which are the most important ones. Some of the speakers tonight spoke on very specific things, and I want you to know, I don't know if it'll make you feel any better, but literally on every superintendent meeting, on every legal meeting, I bring up the same topics that you're concerned about every time. But I take direction from that legal team because some laws take effect immediately as of September 1st, some come later, some in January, so we take them in order. So the suite of policies that you see on the board agenda tonight are those that were recommended to us from our legal team. We don't randomly select them. What is written in those policies, the recommendations, is based upon, you're going to see two categories. Some policies did not, prior to today, exist at NYOS. So we just take what's called in-bank. We take exactly from the legal team their recommended, written, and it's usually written very broadly, right? Not detailed, so that it allows the campus to go to the student handbook and make decisions and be very specific. That's a gift. If we have an existing policy, we take the legal team's policy, our existing policy, and we meld them together. We still have to be compliant with the things that the law is asking us to do. So once the board votes on policies, if they vote in all the policies that we've been working on and that they've been looking at, once they vote them in, when you read them, you're going to think these are very broad. And that's a good thing, because then that allows us to talk about what does that look like in the lived experience. Okay? The last thing I want to say, we'll probably get to it in a second, but for the policy that's listed as DEI, we are a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community, and nothing about that is going to change. At the same time, we have to follow the law. And so we can talk into more detail about what that looks like. I'm happy to, but nothing is going to change about our campus life as of right now. And so I think it's important to say all these things because as we move forward through the year, media and other people will try to get people whipped up about things, but the reality is we're going to continue on pretty much as we always have and continue to be great and live the values that we hold so dear.
Thank you, Dr. Rosas. And for the board, when we were reviewing our policies, you guys should have seen the document where it had the old policy, the new policy, or submitted from our attorneys, and then the differences. So thank you for Dr. Rosas, for you and your staff for doing that for us, so we can clearly see what has been updated, what's changed, and then if it's a completely new policy. I figured we'd vote on these all at one time, but let's go through, they are separated by governance, personnel, students, and then student instruction. So under governance, we have the parental engagement, good cause, exception renewal, and the Open Meetings Act requirements. I just want to see if there's any questions, anything we need to discuss about those. Okay. The second one is personnel, which is the prohibition against DEI practices. Dr. Rosa, thank you for clarifying that a little bit, but how will that affect, or do we know how that will affect any of our current clubs? Oh.
To date, it won't impact any of our clubs. I actually reached out and met with one of the clubs that I knew was most concerned, so I had time with the students at first, and then spoke with a parent as well. It won't change as written. The current policy that the board will vote on tonight will not change anything about our clubs.
Was there any guidance? We had a teacher ask about how to address students. Were there any policies that we need to know about for that?
No, there is no change to how we address students. I think that the lived experience as NYOS will continue on as it always had.
Dr. Rosa, I have a question about the DEI law. I think that's what basically everybody is mostly concerned about. For Section 4, the limitations, it says the policy under 5D does not apply to a student club that is in compliance with the requirements of Education Code 33.0815. So does that mean we're all talking about QSU, right? The Queer Student Union. That's the one that everybody's concerned with. I just want to know that that is not going to be affected. Is that accurate?
As the policy is written tonight, no, it will not be impacted.
Is there any situation where, like, the school would not be held accountable, but teachers would?
Well, this year, that's a great question. This year, the laws were changed specifically for administrators and the superintendents, where our immunity was taken away. However, teachers are still covered, and the school is still covered. So to answer your question, I don't believe so, no. As long as we're following the recommended policy by the legal firm, then we will be okay. And I want to go back to your question, Richard. I think it was your question. The only small difference I would say that is different is for a child, on official documents, if you're sending something into the state or the university, we'll have to use the given name on the birth certificate. That's pretty black and white. But as far as like calling names in class, what you're called by, that kind of thing, that's a day-to-day campus decision.
And thinking through I'm concerned also about rumors and us hearing rumors from other schools, from even the news, right? They may say something that may not apply to charters, but then we hear it and we keep going. What should students, parents, and board members do if we do hear something? Or, you know, we all know we'll get emails, right? And I may not know the answer to that. What would be the steps specifically for teachers, I think?
I think if anyone has a question or concern, you can contact campus administrators. You can always contact me. I try to respond within 24 hours. You know, as we've talked charter leaders together, you may be thinking, why doesn't she send out a memo? Why doesn't she send out a communication? If you're gonna send out a communication that in any way indicates that you're not going to follow the law, you're asking for negative attention to your district, and that's expensive and timely. And so it doesn't mean that we're breaking law, we're following literally the recommendations from our legal team, and that's the best place to be in. So if you hear something that it gets you very upset, just email me or reach out to me so that I can answer that question.
Any other, okay.
Dr. Rosas, we've done this a couple times, updating the policies, and I just wanted to thank the information that we have in front of us and how clearly it was presented to us. Like, this is my wheelhouse, this is what I do in my day-to-day, and I feel confident that I understand what's happening here, and I just want to say thank you because it's a good feeling to update the policy. I understand what's happening. I can see where the right decision was made to keep NYOS the way it is, and I just want to thank you and your team. I know this was not done in haste. This took y'all a lot of time, and I can tell, and I appreciate it a lot.
Sorry. Well, can I ask, is there any scenario where some of our clubs, based on gender, race, those types of things, may be forced by the new law to change the name of their club? I'm thinking Black Student Union, Latinx Student Union, Queer Student Union.
I think anything is possible, and anyone in the public can read the law as written. And so specifically, gender-based information is specified in the law. That has not been provided to us as an action to take as a district through policy. We are following what our legal team has recommended, and that specifically is what I've asked about at every single meeting. And so far that hasn't come. That could mean it's not going to apply to us. It could mean don't poke on something, like continue on. So anything's possible, but at this time, no.
Okay. Under students, we have concussion, participation in UIL activities by non-enrolled students, and then personal communication devices ban, which seems to be popular. Do we have any questions for staff or Dr. Rosas on that one? Okay. And then the last one we have is under student instruction, school health advisory councils. If we don't have any questions or other discussions about these policies, then as you all know, these policies will be retroactive as of September 1st of this year. So I will go ahead and entertain a motion to accept all policies.
I have a question about the participation, under the students, where it says participation in UIL activities by non-enrolled students. What does that mean?
What that means is that the law, as it was adopted, stated that districts have to make a decision whether they will accept or will not accept students who don't attend day to day. So an example would be a homeschooled student who says, you know what, I want to play volleyball at NYOS. And so the district had to make a determination whether they would or would not. Typically, this is very important for large schools with large athletic programs. For us, as the policy as we've written, it was exactly as Ms. White recommended, which is that we do not accept students who are not enrolled at NYOS for UIL sports.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Wait, so we don't?
I wrote down what she said.
Oh.
She recommended that we do not.
Oh.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept all policies under the governance, personnel, students, and student instructions as presented.
Yes, I move to make the motion.
Thank you, Richard. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ben? Okay, all in favor? Okay, the chair will call that a unanimous vote. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 6, which is to discuss and vote on the district improvement plan, the DIP. Dr. Rosas?
So at the last meeting, board members, we discussed the district improvement plan. You have it in your board file, and so we just wanted to take a vote tonight on those goals.
Yes, Dr. Rosas went over them. It may have been in the July meeting. Do we have any questions on DIP?
Dr. Rosas, can you go over the timeline of the district improvement plan, like why the dates are when they are?
Sure. We found that by having 3-year goals, that's helpful, and it lets you get more traction and not just kind of treat every year as if it's the sole year you're ever going to have. Some of the dates listed are very specific to this year, depending on the goal that we're talking through. But typically, you'll either see this year or a 3-year goal.
And Dr. Rosas, could you just do a quick summary of how the process that you all went through, because I loved it, to come to these goals? And then I have one quick a follow-up question after that.
Okay, sure. So just like our campus improvement plans, our district improvement plan follows the same process. We do a lot of internal work, working with our phenomenal data fellow to look at our data, have conversations with our leadership, and identify those areas that we feel like are key for our district as a whole. And then we have several community meetings that involves teachers, board members, families, every kind of person from our community, and share the information with them and try to whittle down to those key items and sometimes even the strategies that we're going to use in order to achieve.
Thanks. And then can you, not necessarily from memory, but can you just unpack for us what is included in the high focus students? So which groups are included in high focus?
Absolutely, and Paul is sitting right here, so if I don't say it quite right, he'll pop up. And so when we're looking at all subpopulations, that could be a low SES group, a low economic group. It could be a gender, a race, any subpopulation. We're looking to identify which of those are the high focus ones that we need to focus on. So as we looked at the data as a whole and then broke it into parts, which are those pockets that are high focus where we see significant populations that the data indicates they're not getting served. Paul, add to that.
Oh, can you come here? Can you go there? Does that work? Sorry.
Just to clarify a little bit more about high focus is a new term for the last couple of years from the state. It includes students who qualify as economically disadvantaged, emergent bilingual, special education, or highly mobile. And so rather than splitting those groups into 4 different categories, they're now kind of lumped together as one. So if you have a student who qualifies as all 4 of those, they count once within that high focus for accountability purposes, but it is those 4 groups that it really looks at.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, any other questions for Dr. Rosas, our staff? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the district improvement plan as presented. Just?
So moved, sorry.
Yep. Do I have a second? Richard, second, all in favor? Okay, unanimous vote, thank you. Ben? No, Richard, sorry. Okay, item 7, discuss and vote on adjusting upcoming board member dates. So currently at our next board meeting is on, I think I took it off. 13?
It's up here.
Oh, there it is. Okay, y'all have it. It's in our packet as well. And I believe that because it's so close to fall break and then staff being off, there's a conference in there, there's a lot going on, and so there was some options for us to look at. The feedback I received was the option 3, which is to have the board meeting on 10/28, which is moving it down later, skipping November, and then scheduling one for December 2nd. The other 2 options are on there as well. but I was going to bring that one forward unless there's any other discussion or any other options that you guys want to discuss as far as our next board meeting. No? Nothing? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to modify our board calendar to have our next meeting on 10/28, none in November, and then one on December 2nd.
So moved.
Hassan, thank you. Hassan? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ben? Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous vote by the board, thank you. Item 8 is presentation on 24-25 school letter grades.
Hello, and I think that means you guys get me again. Hi, my name's Paul Jomini, and I'm the Data Fellow here at NYOS. And with that, I think we have a presentation to show. You just want to see if I can do it from memory, don't you? All right. And it would be helpful if the audience can see too. If someone wants to, I mean, I can. Do we want other people who are here to be able to see what's happening?
It's in the superintendent slide deck. If you need to find the link.
Thank you.
Hold on one second, Paul. I think we can pull it up. It's on
No
slide
worries.
4 of the superintendent's update.
A little part of me is curious how well I would have done without anything.
Paul, thank you for your patience. I know they're loading it up right now.
Thank you. And so now we can get to it. Our accountability overview for the 24-25 school year, and you can go ahead and hit next for me. Perfect. If you're not familiar with how the school grades are calculated, I always think it's important to go over a little bit so everyone understands where our letter grade comes from. There are three major domains. The first is student achievement, and that's domain 1. The second domain is split into 2 parts, domain 2A, academic growth, and domain 2B, relative performance. And what the school rating looks at is it takes the highest of those 3 pie slices, and that counts for 70% of our school grade. And so typically for NYOS, we are typically receiving their 70% from the student achievement domain. And then 30%, no matter what domain of those got selected, comes from the closing the gaps domain, which looks at the comparative performance of different demographics within our school. So for the elementary campus, the STAR performance counts for the entire 70% of the student achievement domain. And for the secondary campus, 40% of the student achievement domain comes from college, career, or military readiness. 40% comes from STAR performance, and that last 20 comes from our graduation rate. See, you're trying to hide it from me. And so all of that comes together to make up our school grade. So when I go through the next slides, I'm going to talk about each of those components from the different campuses so we can see where we're at. So our first one, domain 1, student achievement, this is looking at our elementary campus. And again, the STAR performance counts for the entirety of the 70% for the domain. And so here we can see our changes between 24 to 25 and the change between those school years. After all of that, the elementary component score is scaled based on the percentage of students who meet grade levels and above, the percentage of students who approach grade levels and above, and the percentage of students who master grade level. And so they take all of those different components, average them, and say, here is your score, and then they give us a scaled score. As you can see, we've gone down a little bit from 24 to 25 at the elementary campus. Our secondary campus, again, the same process applies, except this time, this is only worth 40% of that domain 1 grade. And so, again, they look at approaches and above, meets and above, and masters and above. And you can see for our different subjects, ELA, math, science, social studies, and all grades. Together, all of this combines means that we have increased at the secondary campus our student achievement star performance domain. I'm also informal, so please, if you have a question as I'm going through this, please don't be shy. Questions are good, so ask them as we go. Overall, I think it's also important to look at how we're doing compared to the state. So here you can see the state compared to NYOS and the difference between those two, and that's looking at the 2025 star. Across the board, we're doing very strong with some struggles in our social studies area, which you can see on the campuses reflected earlier.
What grades test social studies?
The grades that test social studies are 8th grade, and then also our 11th grade students taking US history. So those are the only 2 grade levels that compile into that social studies. So again, secondary being a little bit more complex, also part of that 70% is our college, career, and military readiness component. And so over time, you can see how we've been improving as a secondary campus to get to our 84%, which then scales to an 86% for our component score. And so we continue to make strong gains in our college, military, and career readiness. The final portion of this is our graduation rate. And when they look at our graduation rate, they look at the highest graduation rate we've had over the past 3 years, and then that's what counts. So if you have a really strong year, it actually counts for 3 years in a row. And so currently we're at an 80. There's no change from 2024 because of that 2023 graduation rate. I do also think that it's important with both college, career, and military readiness and our graduation rates is notice that it's slightly off by a year. So the state, all of that data lags by 1 year. So even when we talk about our college, career, and military readiness for the 24-25 school year, it was based on the 2024 graduates. So everything just lags a little bit behind on those 2 areas. All right, any questions so far?
How does our graduation rate compare to the state?
I don't know off the top of my head. I wish that I did. I'm so sorry. So I'll be honest, I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that for our graduation rate, we're usually in a B range. And one of the things that makes it challenging for us is our graduation class is very small. It's usually in the 60s. And so 1 or 2 students has such a big impact. And even if you have a graduation rate that's in the mid to upper 90s, that oftentimes will scale backwards to a B. And so for the A's, they're really looking for the very, very, very high 90s, 99s to 100s to get that A rating for the graduation rates.
Paul?
Yeah, oh.
It's my understanding they've changed the criteria since the last grading. How's that impacted NYOS and our current grading?
So the real changes, there are little changes that happen consistently throughout. One of the big changes that we're looking forward and seeing is additional rigor with our college, career, and military readiness. And so we've known about it, and so we've been planning accordingly for it, and so we haven't really seen that much of a big impact for us at either of the campuses. I will expect larger changes to come in 2028, and I'll talk more about those when we get to the closing the gaps domain. I think there was another question. Okay. All right, speaking of the Closing the Gaps domain, so this is the next domain that we're going to talk about. And at both campuses, they, again, slice up this domain into little individual slices. So within the Closing the Gaps domain at the elementary campus, academic achievement counts for 30%. Academic growth counts for 50%. EB, which is emergent bilingual proficiency status, counts for 10%, and the STAR component counts for another 10. At the secondary campus, it's 50% for academic achievement, 10% for graduation status, 10% for EB, and then the remaining percentages for college, career, and military readiness. I always think that this domain is very important because it really does look at our different demographics of our students, but because of that aspect, there's a lot of more details that go into this. So each of the groups evaluated is scored on a possible of 4 points. And so the groups that are evaluated are all students, our 2 lowest performing race ethnicities from the prior year, which for us are Black, African American, and Hispanic students, and then also high focus students, getting to earlier, with our economically disadvantaged, emergent bilingual, highly mobile, and special education students. So for each of these groups in each of those different pie slices shown before, they're measured on a 4-point scale, with 0 meaning that students that we didn't make progress or students or our scores are going backwards. 1 means we haven't met the interim goal, but we're getting closer. 2 means that we didn't meet the interim target, but we closed the gap by half to the interim target. 3 means we met the interim target, and 4 would mean that we met the long-term target. So when we're talking about the long-term target, in 2038, the state has set some targets for each demographic that they're expecting students and achievement to reach. The interim target lasts right now until 2028, at which point all the targets move up and get more challenging. And so every 5 years, we can expect to see the targets to increase in rigor for every demographic, including all students, each individual specific race, ethnicity, and high focus students. And so when we get to 2028, we will really see that rigor start to inch up. So anything that we're at a 3 now, those 3s become harder to reach to. So a whole lot of data. I'm so sorry. I'm a data person, so I tried to make it easy to kind of follow along. The top row is both academic and elementary growth for reading language arts. And you'll see a lot of scores of 3 out of 4, meaning that students in reading language arts are meeting the academic achievement and meeting growth at the interim targets. When we move down to the second row and we see the academic achievement for mathematics and the growth for mathematics, we see a lot of 0 out of 4s, which means we did not make improvement from the prior year, and we did not reach the interim targets. The final one is that STAR component score, and again, you'll see 3 out of 4 for most of those groups. However, our Hispanic students didn't make the progress that we were looking for, and so that score is reflected there. And then finally, in the bottom right, we have our elementary language proficiency, where we got 4 out of 4, meaning that we're meeting that target at 2038, which is really exciting for our students. All of this together means that our scaled score went down 4 points from last year for this specific domain. For secondary, again, we have our achievement in reading in the top left, where we're meeting those 3 out of 4, so we're meeting the interim targets. Secondary mathematics, we see 3 out of 4 for 3 of our 4 groups that are measured. And again, Hispanic students are where we're looking to really make those gains, as they did not meet the interim target, nor did they show improvement from the prior year. On the right side, you can see the federal graduation status, the college, career, and military readiness, and the secondary language proficiency, where we're meeting the interim targets and in a few areas already meeting those long-term targets. As a result of all of this together, we're down 2 points at the secondary campus to a 90 from last year. questions, again, because I always think that closing the gaps is such an important part because it really looks at who our students are we making equitable gains for all of our students? But it's also the most complex. So if you do have questions, please let me know.
Yeah, Paul, I'm just looking at, we went down on, from 24, 4 points. Is that? What about the year before? So we were 75, down 4 points from 2024. What about from 2023? Like, where were we?
And that's, are you looking at are you looking at both campuses?
Elementary, sorry.
Elementary? I believe elementary went down a little bit last year as well, but I would have to double check, and I wish that I just knew that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And then secondary as well. So we went down 2 points from last year, but I'm just curious what 23 was.
What 23 was?
Yeah.
I'd have to double check to look all the way across. If you'll shoot me an email, I will get you those because I know exactly where to grab that number very quickly.
Any questions for Paul?
With the high focus groups having 4 major student populations under them, do we keep track of them individually, or do we have the practice of lumping all of that together?
We tend to keep track of them individually because we think it's important to notice if there is struggling within one of those high focus groups, who is it and how can we best support those students? And I think that's one of the powers of being a smaller district, is being able to say, we know these kids, but let's make sure that we're keeping track of whether or not it's because of language acquisition, is it because of special education, is it because of economic disadvantage or highly mobile. We don't have as many highly mobile students, so that tends to be one that has very, very few numbers, if any, at our district. Other questions?
Thank you, Paul.
I will quickly give the last little bit, just sorry, you're not debt free of me yet.
Oh, okay.
Ultimately, all of this pulls together where our elementary campus will be rated with a C for 24-25. And then our secondary campus will be rated with a B with an 87. There are links to extra resources if you want in the presentation, if you want to track down the accountability manual or any of the TEA results, the TAPER reports, which will come out in winter. You're welcome to click through those. And again, if you do have any questions or something comes up later, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.
I do have one question. On the elementary rating, we received a C. Is that the first time elementary's received a C, or has the grading changed in any way?
The grading has not really changed in any capacity, and that is the first time I've seen a C at either campus.
Thank you.
I think you could argue, though, that STAR test itself has changed.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, next item 9, which is the superintendent update.
Thank you. I have the slides ready to go. Oh. That may. Thank you for clicking for me. I don't think the clicker's doing it. You can go to the next slide, please. And the next slide. Thank you. So I'm happy to give a superintendent's update to kind of wrap up 2 other items from before. In the vein of policy, I want to mention that we'll have at every board meeting a new set of policy. We received a lot of questions about the clinic and giving services to students. We will continue to give service to students as we always have. We are building a website for parents to signify for clubs, healthcare, all those things. Until then, we will continue on as always. Parents have rights, and the right to opt out or in for things is an important piece. So that website will come out, information will come out long before policy is even voted in place. So we want to make sure, but if you have friends or family that are concerned about children getting served in the clinic, we are continuing on as we always do. And then I also want to mention that the overall rating for the district is a B, when you combine those two, in case you had that question. Okay, next slide. All right, as you know, I always like to start with culture and celebrate our kids. Our communications department held a photo contest for classes in the first few weeks of school. The first three to the left were the winners. So I wanted to highlight those. We're proud to announce that Mrs. Jones' second grade class is the newest recipient of the Jiggy Award. We want to thank all the families that came out for the Garden Volunteer Days. Your time and energy made such a big difference on our campus gardens, and we have one more Garden Volunteer Day coming up. It's a perfect way to earn your volunteer hours, make an impact, and connect with other families. That is on Sunday, October 19th from 8 to 12. You can go to the next slide, please. In secondary, the pictures with the poster boards are from secondary's first rally of the year, where students were introduced to all of the clubs that we offer. Football and cheer are represented here from games versus Wilco, and unfortunately we lost those. Guitar images are from Mr. Montoya's advanced guitar course. We received a donation of nothing but cakes from Advanced Pain Care. We want to appreciate them. That was delicious. And the athletics crew had a bake sale at our Goodbye to Summer event. It was the most popular table. I definitely partook, so we appreciate that, and it's going to help our teams fundraise to buy new uniforms. I also want to add, even though there's not a photo for it, that we know that parking is an ongoing issue, and it would be so great if I could come one day and have a perfect encapsulated solution. But I want you to know that we're still investigating opportunities all around NYOS to improve our parking spots and our shuttling. To date, we haven't had any great results. We will continue. We're not going to stop. One of our partners, Blueprint, has made contact with the landowners on Yeager. And so while that's super exciting, that would require funding to obtain that property. We'll continue to pursue this as an option. We're actively monitoring parking on our site to ensure students are parking where they are supposed to, and that all staff are using their hang tags so we know who's parking in the lot. We want to make sure that everyone has a spot and that our parents, when needed, have a place to park. I also want to talk briefly about food services. We also included Blueprint, our partner, and we walked both campus serving lines. We're pursuing a second line in secondary, but we have to make sure that we're offering food that's going to be recognized within the rules for nutrition, and we've already added a vending machine, which has helped alleviate some of the wait time. I want to talk and give an update about our secondary uniform. The uniform committee had their second session, and during that second session, the committee continued its review of branding guidelines, club shirt policies, and the 24-25 student handbook. Members engaged in detailed comparison of the current policies, discussed their application in day-to-day practice, and identified areas where additional clarity or revisions may be beneficial. The feedback gathered in this session will support our efforts to align all uniform-related documents in a way that reflects the school's values, spirit, and identity. We'll continue this important work in the upcoming phase of the review process. Next slide. This is a slide of events that are coming up. There are lots of ways to be involved. I've already scheduled in when I'm going to see SpongeBob, so I'll see you there if you want to come Thursday night, because Friday I will be at bingo with my lucky shirt on and my dauber ready, and I want to make sure that you guys all attend those. They're going to be a lot of fun, and everything else. Our elementary family gallery walk, I'm super excited to see our students communicate what they're learning and how they're doing, and it's a big part of us being an HRS school. And no one can forget fall break. Next up is academics. Secondary, middle school, and high school ELA, which is English Language Arts, held their first day-to-day on September 5th. I'm very excited about this topic. Elementary day-to-days are coming in October. This is an opportunity for teachers to present their own data and how they're addressing the unique academic needs of each student in their classes. Beginning of the year assessments in elementary for math and ELA have been completed. We use iReady in M-Class. K through third grade, there are also their first set of TIA assessments for them to get funding. In secondary, math, ELA, science, and social studies, and even some electives, assessments are being finalized. Many of these are part of our pilot before we apply to include these courses and their assessments on next year's TIA. So it's very exciting. And a big thanks to Paul for all of his work to make sure we get to celebrate all of our teachers and the learning that's happening. As you know, at NYOS, we have a WIN and tech time. These are intervention periods. In elementary, this time is very intentionally spent focused on the skills that need to be targeted. And in secondary, tech time is a launch pad for student success. We're looking at structured opportunities to connect students not only with what they need, but also college representatives from Texas Tech, Southwestern, and St. Edwards, and also meeting with military recruiters, including the Marine Corps and other military branches, to engage in senior planning, CCMR activities, and fueling our mission to prepare students for college, career, and life beyond high school. Another favorite topic, safety. We held the safety and security meeting on September 4th. In closed session, we reviewed the 3-year audit, the annual submission for NYOS of the Multi-Hazard Emergency Operations Plan. It's so much easier just to say MEOP, and the Active Threat Annex. We've had several drills this year so far. In elementary, there have been 2 fire drills and 1 secure, and in secondary, 1 fire drill and a secure. Next on our radar is a lockdown drill. We can't tell you when because we don't publish those dates. Staffing. Matthew, I'll just keep talking unless you want to speak. He's not good. Okay, we have 100% core classroom teachers filled. There's a long list of people to appreciate, including our new recruiter, our entire HR team, our principals who make time for interviews, everyone, our coaches that help onboard our staff. Thank you to everyone. We have 7 open positions, an elementary special education teacher, a high school special educational assistant, and the remaining are district level positions.
Question on if you can go back to the prior slide. What are the fill rates? You said you had 100% teachers, so this is for each campus, non-teaching positions included?
That is substitutes. That's guest teacher fill rate.
Guest teachers, substitute teachers.
Tell me more.
So not only are we trying to hire full-time staff, but we also have to have a crew of substitute teachers who fulfill those roles until we hire a teacher or when a teacher needs to take a day off. No job at NYOS is easy. It's always a lot. In the next slide, we're going to celebrate some of our new members of our crew. We want to welcome this team. You can see everyone here listed, and we're super excited to have them here. And the next slide. Yep. So we're going to talk about our student enrollment. You can see our current enrollment in elementary is 930 students, in secondary 895 for a total of 1,825. Our budgeted goal was 1,810, so we're within our budget, which is always good news. Our attendance, elementary 97.25% and secondary 96.34%. Our district goal is 96.7 and our budgeted goal is 96.3. So we're in a good place. And just this week in senior staff, we talked about following chronic absenteeism, which is 10%. So at this point, it would be between 3 and 4 days of school that any one student has missed, and what structures and systems do we have in place to catch it early on and support our students who may be in need. Fundraising. I know that James wants to speak on fundraising, so come on up, James, if you want to speak for a second. Fundraising is a huge focus for us.
While James gets the microphone going there, if you go back to the slide, 825 enrolled as of which date? Because when we had the FOC meeting, we had 811. So did we find?
Yeah, that's as of last week. Yeah. We've increased since then.
Okay, good, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. So, yeah, we're well underway with fundraising. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone here that's personally contributing to the NYOS Fund. We really appreciate that. I'm excited to say that the senior staff, we're all 100% of us are contributing. So that's really good. And I think we need to lead the way there. And the next step would be then to engage our staff, engage our families. Part of our strategy, of course, is to increase recurring donations and one-time donations. So you can see where we are. I've laid out here the revenue sources as part of our strategy this year. Last meeting, we discussed foundations and major gifts specifically, some of the things we're doing to address those. You know, there's an approach, maybe a targeted approach for foundations and grants. We do have a gentleman that's working with us, a contractor, to address some of the grants. But for me, it's really about a numbers game, identifying those organizations that would be inclined to provide support to educators and education institutions. So we're targeting those organizations and we're sending out asks, essentially. We did have one out with the Dell Foundation, and we're going to continue to ask all the organizations in the Austin area, starting there, to try to build those funds in the foundations. At earned revenue, you can see we're at 55.18% total percent goal of 50,000 for this year. It's a lot of money. We do generate a lot of revenue here. That's between all the sales and all of the fees that we have. And so we might look at re-strategizing and shifting some of the focus. We're probably going to exceed that $50,000 earned revenue goal. And then, of course, events. You heard Dr. Rosa talk about bingo night. It's well underway. We've had some sponsors. Thanks for signing the card tonight. A couple of sponsors sponsored that event. So we're going to raise about $6,000, we think, for that. Right? For a first time, I'm pretty excited about that. I think we're all going to have a great time. And of course, we have the big event in the spring that we're looking to still get to that $55,000 for events. I think, again, half of our strategy really comprises from individual giving. So that's really where a large portion is, and Mr. Williams in our last fundraising committee meeting talked about that, you know, engaging with families, making sure they understand what our stories are, and then talking to them about how their contribution can help and address a lot of the concerns and issues that we have for funding to overcome the shortages that we have from not receiving the same amount of funds that other ISDs do. So pending any questions or concerns, thoughts?
I just want to mention again that 100% of senior staff is giving on a every time we get paid basis, so more than monthly basis. So I challenge the board to meet us at that 100% range. I did not pull the data for the board yet. I was so focused on getting us at 100%, but I do issue that challenge so that we feel, all of us, comfortable asking our community and our teachers to also give to the NYOS Fund.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rosas. We take that challenge. Okay, any questions for Dr. Rosas on superintendent update?
Yeah, on that automatic giving, right? We can do that, but I don't know how many other people have matching through the company. So if we give on Giving Tuesday or other things, it's 100% match. But on, you know, an automatic type of thing, there'll be no match, right? So I don't know how we can incorporate that into the plan and still meet the goals.
I think every company is slightly different, and so it's really important to know with your organization how they will match or not. We can definitely create a flyer that communicates all the different options: a one-time give on those kind of special days, a one-time give on a special occasion like a birthday, or an ongoing give. So we can create that.
Okay. Committee business. First, we have academic oversight. Discuss HB3 goals. Jessica?
Yes. I dropped
the HB3 goal document in the board folder earlier. Is it possible to pull that up? It's just titled HB3 board goals. Thanks. While we're doing that, just a little bit of context. So I'm so glad actually that we were delayed in sharing these until today, because we got a primer on our domain 3 closing the gaps from Paul, so I don't have to do it, which is good for you. So that's great. So thank you, Paul. HB3, this refers to a bill passed in I can't remember what number the session was, but in 2019, and it was a sweeping bill that covered a lot of stuff. One of the things it covered was having all school boards, if you wouldn't mind, there's tabs at the bottom. This is going to be a little annoying, but there's a tab at the bottom if you can go to the EC literacy board goal first. Thanks. The focus of this portion of that bill required every school board to set goals focused on student achievement, but particularly looking at domain 3, closing the gaps. And really, it's just because the state, I think rightfully, wants school boards to spend more time talking about academics and academic performance than anything else. So for 5 years, 2019 through 2023, that was the first round of the HB3 goals. Then we needed time to reset them and bring them to the board for your all's approval. We're not asking you to vote on them today. We're just going to discuss them today, and then we'll hopefully vote next meeting. So these are the proposed. And the other thing I want to share is that it's pretty prescriptive in what those goals need to be. So they have to be about early childhood literacy, so meaning like where we perform in 3rd grade. It has to be on early childhood math, where we perform in 3rd grade, and then our CCMR, so college, career, military readiness. So there's 3 relevant tabs in this document, which is in our board folder, and it has a set of proposed targets for us. At the top of this, you'll see the percent of 3rd grade students that score meets grade level or above on STAR reading will increase from where we were at the start of this process at 57% to 70% by 2028. And then you'll see across the top there in blue, it has the yearly targets, which is really just like formative milestones that we're looking to reach in order to get to that 70%. And in the orange below, you'll see what our actuals have been or will be. So for these first 2 years, we have met those targets. That's the easy part. Then below that, you see the closing the gaps, student groups yearly targets. This is what we want to look at when we're thinking about those high focus subpopulations. So are we, if we want all students to be at 60%, but our Hispanic students last year were performing at 48% meeting grade level, how do we close that gap? And so that's why we're spending time focused on looking at each of these subpopulations separately. So these were proposed targets and formative milestones that the administration shared with us for our consideration. The AOC has reviewed, and we do recommend that we adopt these. Again, you don't need to vote on them today, but these exceed what the state requirement is in terms of where we need to be at different points. So at the bottom of this page, you'll see what the state has suggested or is requiring our targets to be, and we've actually are exceeding that in many cases. If you wouldn't mind to go to the next tab that shows math, it's the same setup, but just want to name for you, our goal when we started, our baseline was 58%. Our target is to get to 70% by 2028. We met that, and we met our target in 2024. We did not meet it last year, and so we've got some room to make up. And again, in our subpopulations, you'll see, for the most part, we are meeting those targets, but not in all cases. Okay. And then the last one is the CCMR. And this, as Paul pointed out, lags a little bit, so this data is a little, I think, when it says 2024, it's referring to the graduates from 2023, right? Okay, good. So it's not necessarily like the same same year of kids. And again, it's the same thing. We perform really well in CCMR, so these are targets that certainly exceed what the state has required. Our goal is to get from 77% to 93%, and we're on track to outpace that. What am I missing, Dr. Rosas or Paul? Go ahead. Don't be afraid. Okay. Oh, yeah, thank you.
The light green color would indicate we hit that target for 2025. If you don't see it shading light green, that would indicate we didn't hit that target for 2025.
Thank you. Thanks for correcting that. Thank you. So, questions about these goals?
My question is, how often is this something we vote on every year? Or does this carry?
No, we need to reset the goals, and transparently, we're behind in doing that. So we're proposing this reset of goals, like retroactively back to 2024 to take us into 2028 for approval. We do need to monitor them on a regular cadence, which is outlined by statute. And so we'll be bringing these back on that cadence.
Okay, they'll be the same goals.
Same goals.
Yeah.
Jessica, we're using that same phrase, closing the gaps, that we do for our letter goals or 8th grade ranking. How are they completely the same, or what's the overlap like?
Do you want to help me with that one? Thank you.
So when we look at the closing the gaps yearly targets, you can look down at the very bottom, you'll see like domain 3 targets in green at the very bottom of the page there. Those are those same closing the gaps targets from accountability. And so that gives you oh, it does work. I was hoping I could get away without the microphone. But yes, the green closing the gaps targets are the same closing the gaps. Now notice, again, those will change in the 27-28 school year. And so that's when, time-wise, this goal will also expire for those updated targets as well. So that 28 school year, we will expect the closing the gaps targets to increase as well. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I know this team is shooting for 100. You know, like I get that they're not shooting for 79 in 2025. Like I get it, they're shooting for the moon, and so I feel like we have a lot of goals everywhere, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around how, besides saying do your best, how we use this to inform decisions, I guess.
So one of the things that happens at both campuses is when they take things like benchmark assessments or STAR assessments, both our teachers and administrators look at dashboards that break this up into different demographics. So that way, as we're making progress, we can say, are there student groups who need additional supports? What does that look like in our teaching? How are we reaching these different students? What sort of supports might they need? And so, yes, when we talk about learning and instruction, good instruction will impact all regardless of demographic. But it's important to keep our eyes on those so that we know, are we actually doing what we're after? Because if not, then we need to change.
Does this just follow 3rd grade, or does it move up?
So House Bill 3 is very specific to 3rd grade and CCMR. It does not move up. It is 3rd grade every year.
So it will be a different cohort?
Correct. Every year it is a different cohort, which is again why it's so important just because the goal is about 3rd grade, that speaks to our need to make sure that we're assessing and monitoring kindergarten and 1st grade and 2nd grade to say, are we making the growth that we want for students so that by the time they hit 3rd grade, we're setting them up for success in the future as they go forward and matriculate through our system.
So you said that our goals are ahead of the state targets. How did we arrive at those goals?
I'll give my understanding of it. So the in many cases, the state target was below where we were performing. So I think what happened was we took the next milestone that the state had given and said, let's set something that's closer to that next milestone.
Can I give a little bit more
Please.
background? For sure. So we looked at our 2024 data and we said, okay, if we want to reach 93 whatever percent by 2028, how are we going to space this out? And then we looked at the individual demographics of each of those groups for 2024 and then projected them forward as well.
So that means if you're not hitting it every year, you know you're not going to meet the state eventually, and we have a problem.
Yes, and you want to make sure that over time we're making growth for all student groups and not just some.
Are there any like repercussions for not meeting your HB3 goals?
No, question mark. I mean, I say that flippantly, except there are consequences in the sense that these are reflected in the accountability system. But there's not consequences of like, for the board for not.
Right, there's not like a specific HB3.
No.
Like, of course we want to meet these goals.
The real intent behind the legislation was to get us to have this conversation about how our students are performing, what that means. Are we looking at not just all students, but like, you know, those individual subgroups and spending our time really understanding the academic performance of our campuses.
Did they target third grade for some specific reason? Was there a rationale
Well,
behind why
I mean,
third
there's
grade?
like, there's some research that like particularly in literacy, like if you're not on grade level by third grade in literacy, then you're like less likely to have other life outcomes. So like there is good research, I think, behind that. It's also the first year that you have a tested grade and subject in STAR. So that for that reason, it's third grade. Thank you.
And just because there aren't any extra requirements tied to it yet doesn't mean legislature can't come back and go, oh, by the way, and if you don't meet, here are consequences down the road, right? Which makes sense, just try to be ahead of it.
Yeah. I mean, yes, like theoretically, yes.
This has also been around for a long time, so this is not the board has had a similar 5-year goal 5 years ago now. And so I don't, theoretically, but we haven't seen that happen.
I think you also have to think contextually. There are lots of districts that are in improvement required or headed that way. And so that takes on different meaning when you're looking at this, and the whole idea of starting with third grade, and then that forces you to look at early childhood. And so like trying to fend off problems before they ever started. So this was not created for NYOS. This was created for districts who really might be struggling and not letting it go too long.
Yes.
Thank you, Jessica. That was
Thank
great.
you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, keep him.
Yeah, I know.
We are not voting on those tonight. This was just a discussion. Okay, next committee, Business Financial Oversight Committee, which is the audit progress update. Dr. Oh, Hassan, do you have that?
The which update?
Audit?
Oh, yes. So the audit, you threw me off there. So the audit results should be in by next month, and then we'll publish them, and we'll have to have a vote and sign it and get it submitted. And so as was mentioned earlier, we're not voting on an amended budget right now because it got corrected and didn't get posted on time. But the good news is, based on the additional income from the state, even with raises and everything else, we're projecting to be better off than we initially thought. And so that's good news. We do have the dashboard, if we want to show that. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but we usually bring it up. We have the PDS in the board folder. And thank you, Matthew, for working on it last night, and I made minor tweaks. There it is. Nobody can read it. Perfect. We're mostly green, so don't worry about it. So
It's on the website as well. It's on the NYOS website. It's posted.
oh, we posted this sheet?
I think
No, we should post it the budget that we were going to vote on, but are not voting on. That's on the. There you go. I don't know why it's so fuzzy, but We've already covered the attendance side and the enrollment, which are ahead of budget, so that's good news. The wait list is down a little bit, so, James has another target to bring that back up. But what we always focus on is how much cash do we have? And so, we're one of the few districts that has a significant net positive. We have about $4.5 million in cash. That's the good news. It's been down from the last few years, but in terms of days of cash on hand, right, we're trying to stay ahead of the policy, which is 60 days. So we're ahead of that with 78 days of cash on hand. It's down a little bit because usually at the beginning of the school years, we buy things. We buy computers, we buy other things. So if you look further down on the financials, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, you'll see our net assets are down a little bit because we are laying out cash. So you can see cash is down. Our overall net assets are down a little bit. But the good news is we're in a much better position than many other districts. And with the budget we're going to approve next month, we should continue to get better, which will allow us to do the things we're going to need to do in the next few years. And we'll talk about facilities down the road.
Thank you, Hassan. Okay, next item is the governance committee. Tonight we are discussing and voting on the superintendent goals. The governance committee did meet this month to review Dr. Rosas's goals that we hold her accountable for her evaluation. And we did give feedback, and so she has presented updated goals, which are in the packet, and I think we have them on the slides as well. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Rosas, so you can present those.
Yes, they're bringing up the slide right now, but I'll go ahead and go over them. I want to appreciate the board for their feedback as we created these. Goal number 1 is looking at all student performance in mathematics, including the 2 lowest performing races or ethnicities and high focus students as we reviewed. Will increase their STAR transition table growth by 5% points from STAR 2025 to STAR 2026. Will increase the knowledge and skills around multi-tiered systems of support in 25-26 as measured by T-test. Within T-test, there are different domains. So domain 2.4 speaks about differentiation and providing that personalized support to each child. And the transition table student growth on STAR, 3 percentage points. Goal 3 is the students identified as emergent bilingual who gain 1 or more levels or maintain advanced high on their TELPAS composite score will increase by 3 percentage points from 2025 to their 2026 TELPAS. And lastly, by June 2026, we'll increase our engagement as measured by a 60% parent survey response rates. If you picked up your child today, you saw me and others passing out those papers to encourage everyone to fill out their surveys. 87% student retention. We're currently at 84%, and we feel confident that we can retain our students. Progressing towards our overall 90% strategic plan goal, as Ben mentioned, we have goals everywhere, so we're trying to tie everything together. And 81% staff retention. Currently, we're at 77%, and we know we can improve that rate overall, progressing towards the 85% strategic plan goal.
Any questions for Dr. Rosas?
I have a question on goal 2, which I'm love to see MTSS included in here. So it's 100% of teachers are going to increase in that domain, and the STAR transition table student growth will increase by 3 percentage points. So both. So like if you hit one but not the other. I don't have a perspective on this, but if you hit one but not the other, like thinking about how you would rate yourself on that.
Right. So the goal 1 is just looking at mathematics and a 5% increase in that transition table. So we want to see an increase of 5% for all students, right?
Yeah.
Including high focus. When you're looking at goal number 2, you're looking at all teachers as they're teaching. So think about elementary, or maybe teaching all subjects, whereas secondary, you might be teaching a content, that we're going to see a 3% increase on that same table across those core subjects in their ability to differentiate.
But it would be, that's like two different measurements in one
Yes.
goal. So like
Mhm.
if theoretically, all teachers could improve in that domain, but not all students would increase.
You could, but interestingly, as part of TIA, Paul designed was it this week, last week, it all runs together, a fantastic calibration opportunity for principals and assistant principals to look at student performance and how we're rating people on T-tests.
Great.
Because they should be very tightly aligned.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Will all the data be available in time for the next review, so we don't have the dilemma we had this year, which is we set certain goals, but we didn't have the data to determine whether it was met?
Typically, it's around STAR is what holds us back. So we should be able to get everything to you before the end of June. I'm assuming. Paul is shaking his head yes, maybe.
I think even if we have preliminary data, that's helpful. The governance committee will meet with Dr. Rosas on a quarterly basis so that we can keep a pulse on these goals and help her to be successful in those. I also want to remind the board that Dr. Rosas is also responsible on the DIP goals that we just voted on and the strategic plan.
I really like the goals you laid out here, Dr. Rosas, and I think that they reflect a real balanced approach, which is what we want, and I'm glad that you did that. Because like the first one, mathematics, and we saw where there's an opportunity in mathematics. Focusing on teachers is something that I know that parents want us to challenge you on. I'm gonna skip 3 for a second, but number 4 is about just getting to the whole school, to all the people, to everybody involved in proving it. And then back to 3, I think that's a personal goal of yours because you identified that when you got here and you said that we could do better there. And maybe that wouldn't have been the one that I had suggested, but it is a great opportunity and it shows your skill set to identify things that you want to improve on. And so I really like the balance here and it makes me real confident, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other question, I'll entertain a motion to accept the superintendent goals as presented.
I'll make that motion to accept the goals.
Ben, do I have a second? Okay, Sharon, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Next item is item 11, which is executive session. So the board will meet in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072 regarding deliberation regarding real property, deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 551.076, the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel or devices or a security audit, and section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment of an officer or employee. The board will go into executive session at 7:43 p.m. Everybody's here? Okay, we have returned from executive session at 8:30. Secretary, 8:30? Okay. Next items are on our agenda is to 11A, which is to discuss and vote on 11A regarding real property for the high school campus in open session. So I'll entertain a motion to direct Dr. Rosas to proceed with remaining on the current campus to serve the students that we've already committed to.
I move to make the motion.
Okay, Sharon second. All in favor? Okay, unanimous vote by the board. Motion carries. I do want to state that after careful consideration, the board has voted to remain on our current campus for the time being. We recognize that this decision brings challenges, particularly around areas such as parking and food services, and we are committed to having leadership addressing those needs for our community. Remaining on campus allows us to continue the important work of evaluating long-term options for growth. Since the 23-24 school year, NYOS leadership has been focused on the topic of space. This process has included planning sessions with both internal and external partners, ensuring that all perspectives, including financial, are carefully considered as we move forward. The board is grateful for the ongoing support of our community as we balance meeting today's needs with preparing for the future. We want to recognize the extended committee made up of staff, family members, and students. We also want to thank our superintendent for her leadership and dedication in guiding this important work. Okay, item 11B is to discuss and vote on the MEOP, which is the Multi-Hazard Emergency Operations Plan, and accepting the 3-year annual Texas School Safety Center audit. Sharon, motion. Do I have a second? Allie, all in favor? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Last is to discuss and vote on item 11C regarding the appointment of public officers. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mark Struby as a secondary teacher position on the board.
I'll make a motion to appoint the secondary teacher on board.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Second, Richard, all in favor? Okay, motion passes. Unanimous, thank you. Next item is looking at items for our October 20, reminder that we have an October 28th meeting. That move that we voted on, Jackie, I think, has already put those new dates on our calendars. What I have right now is HB3 goals, so we'll actually vote on them. We discussed them tonight, but we're voting the budget amendment that we weren't able to vote on. There's probably some additional policies, and then audit. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, yeah, and then the committee reports as usual. If there's anything else, please let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Hassan, second, Richard. Okay, all in favor? Yes, we're all in favor of adjourning at 8:33 p.m.